Be right back. I'm checking my phone.
Of course.
He said we're using the same room for the rest of the semester, and they fixed the sound. So do you know which one that was?
Yeah, it's Gates
But
122.
Francois is at home waiting for an AC maintenance crew. They said Dan should be able to make it, but I haven't heard. Try the Google thing.
He didn't show up, so.
Yeah, he might not. He just got.
He's done showing up.
So I know he posted on Facebook his new title.
Oh, is that right?
Try the Google thing. Well,
It took me forever to say, okay, I have a new title? Okay. You sit down and say, nobody actually really cares. No, you have a boatload of other crap work to do. It's about the size of it.
Okay.
Let me see.
So yeah, nobody in
So he
Ithaca.
might not be there. So if he's not, we won't bother with him. Yeah, if we hear from him, I guess we can add him. But I told Frank. Dan hasn't.
I'm going to fix that.
So we
I'm trying to
might
figure out where is that on there.
We can still record it without being connected
Yes.
to them, right?
We just need to, you know, if the people in Ithaca would need to use the Google Hangout, I guess, if we kind of started up.
Yeah, I told Frank that already.
Okay. I mean, we can try.
If I hear from Dan, we can switch it, but I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, I haven't tried connecting. It should be, yeah.
That's what I want to. Did I get that? Yes, I got that in all of them. Give me one quick second. What is it? July, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
July 1st.
You just make sure. I need to embed a video. So I need to make sure that that video plays. I think it did, but let me make absolutely sure.
We'll actually want to make sure that the sound runs.
Okay.
Once we get started too.
Okay.
It should, but.
Yeah, I'm always worried with video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Limited UVness. I think that one looks okay. Okay. All right, so let's try this one.
Yep.
Let me make sure I kill this. Don't need that. Kill anything else that's going to take up space. And are we on same Wi-Fi?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. Give me start air server as well. Give me 1 second. I
Sure.
don't know if that's going to kill us. We'll find out. Okay.
You can just plug that mini
Yeah.
display port in, whatever you're set.
Here we go. Okay. I have to fix the title. Yeah.
We good on this thing?
Okay, looks like you are in presenter mode on your computer. I may have to grab Gus because I never remember how to fix that.
Okay, let's try that.
Years these video conferencing systems have not gotten any easier to use. You need an expert to even do this.
Yeah. Okay, come on. Okay.
Is it because we're doing the HDMI here instead of the?
No, the HDMI has actually been working better for us lately. Okay. I'm just trying to actually get a feed.
Okay.
There we go.
Can't see a thing here.
Okay, so can you hit?
Okay.
That should give us the option to.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to grab Gus because Gus knows his
Yeah.
way around a Mac better than I do.
Okay.
Do you usually see the same slides on your?
Yes, I should.
Mac?
Yeah.
I just need to set you to mirror.
You want mirror?
Okay, shall we-
Do you do mirrored or do you like notes showing?
No, I want that. Just mirrored. It's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Let's
You
try
don't have
that.
to do it, that's fine.
And then we want to make sure that the video also plays.
Yeah, so we need to get up to your settings, which are hard to see because it's all small.
That one. Hang on.
Where's
I can
your
find
settings?
it. Yep.
Okay.
The one down here,
Oh,
I
in the
think.
middle, there, yeah.
That one,
Up,
right?
yeah,
The gray
bring
one?
that up, yeah.
Okay.
All
right.
And then go to display, which is left.
That's
second.
the one?
Yeah, now
Okay.
we'll bring up now over here.
Go.
So now if you look down here, we got 2 dialog boxes.
Right.
We've got one there, and we got one here
Yeah.
on this display. But we go to arrangement, and there you say mirror instead of this, and then it will make them all the same.
Okay.
And then you'll see here what we're going to see there in a second once it figures it out. Okay, now you can just close that.
Okay. Great.
Just go to PowerPoint.
All right. Let's just try the one video.
Mm-hmm.
So I can make sure that we have that. Okay. Come on. Come on. Work with me. Okay. All right. So we don't need this slide. Let's just go to the video one alone. I need to check if there's server. Okay. This one.
He said the
What am I
camera
doing?
is a little,
Do that to me. All right. That's right. Okay. All right, I'm going to bump up the volume here, you dummy.
Great sellouts in town, and getting a seat to a Penguins game
Yeah.
would make any Pens fan happy. Now with the
We don't have audio.
1 second, yeah, because we're not getting audio through here.
Okay, do you have the audio cable? You going?
The HDMI should pick it up for us. I think it's
Okay.
just.
I thought that didn't work.
Can you try it one more time
So
for
you
me?
got
All
that
right.
to work eventually?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay, hang on 1 second.
All right, okay.
Try it one more time for me.
All right, go.
Sorry, it's a
Oh, it's
finicky
in
thing.
town, and getting a seat to a Penguins game
Nope.
would make any Pen.
Picking up. All right, let's try the.
Audio cable?
Okay,
Yeah.
turn the power around so that
Go.
you can fit it.
All right, let's give this guy a shot now.
Now, it probably won't work, right, because we're on HDMI. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm afraid that may happen.
Nope.
Well,
No
it's
audio.
kind of surprising though. Why would it come out of her speaker?
It's supposed to pick up directly from the HDMI, but for some reason it's not taking
Okay,
it
so let's
today.
just switch
Well-
to VGA.
Hang one more second. We're going to try going directly from that. All right. That's
We're on
not getting
full.
anything.
That's
Yeah.
full volume
Let's just
here.
switch. Let's forget HDMI. Oh wait, there you go.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we just need to use the VGA
All right,
instead
so we're
of-
good? Can I kill it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
We just need to use the
No,
VGA
that's fine,
instead.
that's fine,
And
that's
you
fine.
just turned off the sound.
Yes, I just turned up the
Okay,
sound,
good.
just to be
Okay,
absolutely
so
sure.
you know.
Okay, can you kill the screen for me? I just want to adjust some things on the title
Sure.
slide.
There
Is
you
that
go.
okay?
Mhm.
Kill. Okay, good deal. Thank you. Then I want to run one time. Do we have, will any other devices connect through AirPlay? Do you know?
Sorry, ask me that one more time.
AirPlay, will any other devices connect through an air server or an AirPlay? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think we typically go
Got
through
it.
that.
Got it. Okay. Give me a second. Let me try that.
So I'm going to switch out your mini display cables here. We're not
That's okay.
broadcasting anything though.
That's okay. I just want to make sure that I can get the, let's see if I can. Okay. All right. Let me make sure.
I don't know what Francois was talking about. It looks like you can see the top of the slides there, right?
Okay, what's going
See
on?
when there's a slide up there.
All right, did we just lose the mirroring?
No, you
Yeah, I
probably
haven't
just,
heard from them
you
yet.
probably just have
Okay,
to.
you have them.
I don't think it should change.
I haven't heard from them since they left.
No, I think he
Okay,
changed
I
the
don't know.
cable
I
up.
know. That should-
The phone out front should ring whenever they arrive, but as far as I know, they're just
Okay.
on their way.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I apologize.
Goes away.
No, no, no problem.
Okay, well then we need to see her display there.
Not sure.
Maybe it's
Probably
Dan.
Dan.
Check if it's
Yeah.
Dan. Then I need to see her display up there to be able to do this.
Okay. Why are we getting a call?
All right, let me kill this one.
No, it could be Dan. Dan
I
could-
think
Dan
the
could be
recording
in the room.
system just flipped over for some reason.
Oh, maybe
I'm not
we should
sure
pull
why.
the VGA cable out.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We'll just switch this. Okay. So much magic.
One of these eventually is supposed to pick up that VGA cable.
Do I want me to unplug it and replug it in?
Leave it where it is for right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we do need to unplug it and plug it back in. Actually, it's weak.
Wow. He was clicking like crazy.
Before it, let the Mac figure out where it is for a second. Okay. Did you already make your edit?
No, I need to.
Here, edit,
All right,
edit
okay.
it first. Here, edit it now.
Okay, I like that.
What's up?
Let's make sure. I just want to make sure that I have that. Okay, in July, change it to July. Okay, good.
You're just like me.
All right, and then I want to make sure the video plays, which is the most.
Yeah, we'll check it after we.
Okay.
Let's check that out.
Oh, and actually, let me do one small thing. I'm going to kill my Google Hangout, so I'm not going to get any messages during my. Which would be good if I can sign out of it. Give me a second. I need to sign out. Get where you sign out of it. Sign out of it.
Of course, it's where you're not expecting to find it.
Yeah, of course. And I'm going to make sure Skype is signed out. Okay, this is signed out. Skype. I don't think I have Skype going, so I should be good. Yeah, go.
So let's plug that in.
Okay.
And now, if we get to see it, we might need him to actually do this. I don't know why the Mac defaults to that, and I don't know a way to bring up the control
The settings?
panel.
Oh, wait. There's a browser up here. How did that thingy just go there? Hang on. Let's see if we can grab that and bring it over. Oh,
Yeah,
that's my
well, we
Google
don't
Calendar.
want-
That's not helpful.
Yeah, we just want the settings, which,
Okay. I don't know how do you get that?
and,
Anything up or down? No.
well, it's like not clear that it's one of these screens. You have all these desktops, but this one's just the where you'd have that other kind of junk. But I don't know why you can't go down there and get
Yeah, and it seems to have disappeared.
and I don't know why you can't tab between apps. It doesn't work with that. I don't get it. I never do it. So let me just get
Okay.
the other guy who's supposed to help with this. Let's see. We're Lectern VGA. Can I show that on the
So what do you
conf?
think?
That's the monitor. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's 50.
So,
Oh,
why?
wow.
Yeah, but I don't know why it's doing that. But let's see if we can get what we want anyways.
Oh wow.
Let's see where. Onto the
No, the mouse is not. You can't see the mouse at all.
I know. The question is, which way is it? Up, down, no.
Nope.
Left, no.
Nope.
Right? I don't
No,
see
it's closed it.
It's like the resolution's wrong.
Yeah.
So what if we set it here before we have it plugged? There's a default. Can you set it and then have it do the right thing after you plug it in?
Okay, let me kill this so this one doesn't show up.
Can you
Just
close
kill that.
it?
Yeah, just close it. It's fine. Be fine. I'm not letting you close it. I'll just go to Chrome and quit. Won't let you quit? Seriously?
Let's
Wow.
just ignore it for now. Yeah, let's minimize it. No, it's not letting me minimize it. It's
Oh.
doing something stupid with that window.
Okay, okay.
Oh, here it was. There was some kind of something, a modal dialog box.
Okay.
That's why I wasn't doing it.
Okay, got it.
And let's do this.
You'd already done the
And,
mirror.
It won't let you do mirror until you
Actually,
mirror.
do the thing.
So
Okay.
let's see if we can get to it. I don't know why the resolution's looking all bad. Looks like this is okay. That's probably not good to have that kind of curve.
So why do you switch out from this one? Which is
Because that was not working with the sound for some reason.
I see, okay.
Okay. It's still not showing the second display. So I think you drag the source onto, but this thing's so buggy. I think, like, do you have to get rid of it first?
Oh, wow.
Like, it
Huh,
didn't,
interesting.
it didn't handle that. Let's see if that does it. Where's Jonathan? Get back here. He went to get the food. Tech displays. Doesn't see that other display. I don't know why. We didn't do anything special. Hey, we're not seeing that display on the conference monitor. So I can't like tell it to mirror once we plug this in again. So let's see if it works.
Is the VGA not picking up?
Well, I don't. Okay, I did this time. Okay, here we go. Now where's the mouse? Okay, now this is exactly what we just did, right, Priya?
Yep.
Where's the one where it says appearance? Oh no, we are. It's not a mirror.
No, it's just showing you the settings for it. That's all.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's actually a different one from what you see here.
Well, you get two of them, but it.
There you go. Arrangement.
Arrangement. See, it wasn't on. It just detected we had to close. We had to close it and restart it.
Okay.
Clearly, it doesn't refresh its state. Now it should work. Okay. So there we go.
Okay.
Now it's mirroring. You want to check the. Just go to the slide with the video just to check it one time. And here we go. Oh, see, it switched her to notes mode. Weird.
Which is okay.
Oh, no, which is fine. That's fine.
Fine,
It's just for
but
me.
it's
That's
funny
fine.
since we said mirror.
Yeah, it's just not supposed
It's
to be
saying
doing
it's
that.
not doing what we asked it to do. But okay, which one's the one with the?
It's 5 slides in, so that guy.
This guy. Let's just test it.
Nope.
No sound. Wait. So,
All right.
do you want to leave the sound on or not?
Yeah, I mean, I'll that way we don't get any static or noise or anything in the background.
So we should be connected. We are recording. We're recording on Google Hangouts as
Okay.
well. So I think we're all set.
I want to see if I can, never mind, maybe not to try that.
Okay. Are we good?
I think
So
so.
that's recording?
Yeah, I'm gonna go upset.
Okay.
Okay. I wanted to be able to show it on
Let's just
every.
wait 5 minutes and let
Okay.
people get food, and then we'll go.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna broadcast the air server.
What do you want to do?
No, I want to be
Show
able to
it
show
on the
show it off here because I can broadcast to this.
Mm.
But it's fine. I wanted to show people what was the Super Bowl. So.
Do you want to show it on like a tablet that we pass around or something? Or?
No, it's fine. I mean, we should be able to do this. Is it okay if I escape this to try?
You didn't get your slides yet, right?
No, yeah.
Okay, we'll get
Let me
those
just,
out,
okay. I just don't want to break anything if it's working right now. Okay, is there a server on? Rebroadcast. Let me try this. Okay. See if I don't kill anything by mistake.
So if we can see the top of your slides, okay.
Come on. No, it's not. It's not rebroadcasting. That's fine. It's fine.
Maybe Google Guest Network doesn't.
No, yeah, maybe it doesn't allow it. Yeah, it's possible.
Okay, so food's here, so why don't people grab something to eat, and then we'll start in 5 minutes.
Rebroadcast, yes. Yeah, you're right. It could block it. That's fine. There's no, what you call this, the document thing, right? So there's no other Wi-Fi network that I can hit. You're right. I think the Google Guest must block.
I mean, we have another network, but I don't know what our
It's fine,
network
it's
does.
fine. So let me just try to broadcast one more time. If that doesn't work, then it's fine. Okay, let me quit it, restart it, and then we'll try to rebroadcast.
Oh, Priya, how do you pronounce your last name?
Narasimhan.
Narasimhan.
Yep.
Okay. I asked Anthony Joseph, who I was chatting with, because he's stuck in the airport in Chicago with his parents trying to get to Europe. He keeps sending me tweets. SMS about him. He said, "Oh, hey, how do you pronounce Priya's last name?" He said, "I don't know. I just say Priya."
I like that. So I just say Priya. Okay, turn that off. Yeah, you're right. I think it's a Google thing. It's a Wi-Fi network preventing.
Yeah, they probably just.
Which would make sense. Okay.
There.
It's fine. Maybe towards the end if people, and there's no document camera or something that I can show something off on?
No, there's not a document camera.
You know the kind I'm talking about, so,
Yeah.
All right, never mind,
I
never mind.
don't think we have one.
Good luck. That looks, no, it's not, That's fine.
No. The only cameras are these ones that are
That's fine.
stuck, and I don't know if you'd be able to
Oh, that's fine.
zoom in to see it or
No,
not.
that's fine, it's fine. Do you know who's online? Do you know?
It will tell me when I go in. It's,
Okay.
Francois doing VTA, who's
May I
a
grab
faculty,
this?
who's
Is
a
this fine?
faculty. Yeah, that's yours.
Okay.
I don't know what he's talking about. She's gonna stand. So he's online watching it.
Who's he?
Francois.
Who's Francois?
He's faculty
Okay.
IS in
Okay.
Ithaca.
Good deal.
And wait, we might need the
Mic.
That's the last thing.
Okay.
So, let's see it out here.
A few minutes after your time to talk.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely,
Okay, great.
absolutely.
Could you?
All right, sure. Is it on already?
The bell? Yes.
Okay.
Then, you have a pop-in.
Yep. Got it.
Excellent.
Your PhD's UCSB, right?
Yes.
Who did you work with there?
Mallier Smith and Louise Moser, distributed systems.
Did you ever get back there?
Sometimes it's too beautiful. Cold is good for you sometimes.
So you didn't hear a lot for YinzCam?
Almost every 2 weeks
Wow.
for a league, for some league or the other.
Leagues?
Yes.
How many leagues are here?
NBA, NHL, NFL, everybody's here. Everybody's here.
Soccer?
MLS is here too. Yep, everybody's here.
Cool. Good to see it succeed.
I'm sorry?
Good to see you succeed. Now, did you
Oh, no,
start
thank
with
you.
the Penguins? What was
We
first?
started with the Penguins.
That's what I thought.
Yes. Started with the Penguins first. How do we take questions from campus? How does that happen? Do they show up somewhere, or how's that work?
Since we're not connecting to the Ithaca one, we probably won't. So
Okay.
because people on the Google stream, they could have a delay. So it's not easy to take questions unless somebody.
So they'll hear us, but they won't. Will they hear the questions? Should I repeat them? How's that work?
It's always good to repeat the
Okay,
questions.
okay, just so I know.
Recording that we make.
Got it.
Set up because
Okay.
there's mics on here, but they don't seem to do a very good
Got it.
job.
Okay.
So, yeah, always. Repeat
And they will hear all the audio from this anyway. So if I play a video, it's not going to go dead silent on them.
No, they'll hear that audio.
Okay, and what delay are they on?
It all depends because you can be watching it with a delay, and even if you're on live, it seems to be, I don't know, 5 or 10 seconds behind.
5 or 10 seconds. Okay. No, I just worry with video. I mean, if I'm talking over it, I don't want it.
It will all be delayed.
It will all be a delay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So
Okay.
But just repeating the questions is good.
Okay, good.
She was just asking. And I was just about that type of stuff, but yeah, but it's like sort of not the same because there's a bunch of so kind of Okay.
Okay, so Priya,
Okay.
30 minutes after.
Okay. So what time to what time do I go on? I know I have it on the schedule,
We're
but
starting about 12:30, and we have till 1:30,
got it.
and then you're gonna meet with more after that. So
Got it.
just kind of wrap up.
Got it. Okay.
Questions.
No worries. 12:30 to 1:30.
Yeah.
Got it. Perfect.
Okay, so we're going to get started. Welcome to today's DTech NYC seminar. This is our second to last seminar for the season. Next week we have Steve Feiner from Columbia University. I encourage you to come. If you're not on our mailing list, go to bit.ly DTech NYC and sign up so you can find out about upcoming talks. The seminar will probably start again in September. I'm happy to introduce Priya Narasimhan, who is a professor in electrical and computer engineering at Carnegie Mellon University, which is my dear alma mater where I got my Ph.D. Priya is also the founder and CEO of YinzCam, which she's going to talk about in her talk today. But she has a really great track record in research from her Ph.D. at UC Santa Barbara through her faculty position at CMU. She's also done other things, like she was the director of Intel Labs Pittsburgh, which is a sister lab to a lab I ran in Seattle for Intel. And so she's had this great career of both doing academic research as well as trying to turn things in product, which is actually a great fit with the model we have here at Cornell Tech. So without further ado, Priya.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you for having me here, especially on a day when we're all waiting for 3 p.m. for the World Cup. So, so my name is Priya Narasimhan, and I'll tell you a little bit about my journey and how I got here. So born in India, finished all my high schooling in Africa, in Zambia. That's where I actually finished up high schooling and elementary school as well. Did my PhD at UC Santa Barbara. My cubicle was right here. It was a miracle we got any work done. Then went to CMU in 2001 to become a professor in ECE. So that's really where I started my CMU career. Then, as James pointed out, I did a stint as director of Intel Labs Pittsburgh. And again, it's a position where there's a faculty member that rotates out every 3 years and heads up the Intel employees that are on site located at Carnegie Mellon. And there are 2 other universities, Berkeley as well as the University of Washington, that were doing this. So I did that. And then this is the company that I'll talk to you about, what I've been doing with YinzCam over the last 5 years. Also, as a result of that affiliation with Intel, I also headed up the Intel Science and Technology Center in Embedded Computing that was based out of CMU, and Cornell's involved. So Rajit, Manohar, and I think Suhan Chen and Joseph Gonzalez, they're all involved in that center as faculty as well. So what we did was Intel gave us about $2.5 million a year for 5 years to go invest in the areas of embedded computing. And what we did actually here, we built a robot for retail. And if you have a robot in an academic environment, it must rock a hoodie. So we did have a hoodie on that robot. Okay, so anyhow, we can talk about that as well later if you're interested. That's much more on the research front. What I'll talk to you about today is YinzCam. So YinzCam really started from what a business model was, and then was very much influenced by what we do with cloud, and I'll talk to you about how cloud really helps us, and where also it has hurt us before and how we need to change that model a little bit, and also what big data really means to us and how we're using it for automation as well as how we generate revenue through things like big data. So I'll talk to you about how our business model is influenced by both cloud as well as big data. Right? To start with, so when I moved to Pittsburgh in 2001, I was not a sports fan. I had grown up on soccer in Africa, and I'd grown up on cricket in India, and I missed both sports. But I went to my first Penguins game and completely, utterly fell in love. I just absolutely fell in love with hockey. So I would start to go to a lot of games, and as a faculty member, this is the view you get, right? This is the seat you afford, and this is the view you get, right? And you've met me, everybody else is taller than I am. I would never see the goal, the fight, the save. I would never see anything when it counted for me. And we had a spectacular team. We still have a spectacular team in the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it was amazing. I couldn't see any of the action when it mattered to me. So this was 2001, 2002 when I first joined CMU. So what we did was we decided we should try to solve the problem of how you can actually have a better experience, because in fact, if you watch the game at home, with your HD TV, you can see the puck crystal clear. In fact, your experience at home is that much better. Why would you go to the stadium? Well, for me, I would go to the stadium because there are 20,000, 60,000 other screaming people like myself who really happen to love being there, right? And I want to enjoy that experience, but I want the control I have at home where you can DVR, you can rewind, you can pause, you can do all these things. So that's what we started with. So 2005, I'd say 2005, 2006, we started this actually out of a capstone project. Our embedded systems capstone project, where again, as your capstone projects are, we had a group of students and we said, how do we go solve this problem? How do we get all the camera angles that are available in the stadiums? I mean, there could be about 20, 24 different camera angles available in most stadiums. How do we get these into fans' hands? How do we let them rewind, do all the things they want? How do we get instant replays in a way that they can enjoy? So now 2005, 2006, if you think about it, you didn't really have good wireless infrastructure inside stadiums. In fact, it was worse than what you have as office quality Wi-Fi today, because it was virtually non-existent. And we had the challenge then of being able to try to support video on top of infrastructure like that. So this is 2005, 2006. Okay, so we started building this out first as a capstone project. Then it was taken over by a group of undergraduate students, graduate students, Ph.D. students who started working on how do you optimize this video delivery over wireless networks. Today, people talk about high-density Wi-Fi. You see this in every single news article that comes out. That didn't exist at that point in time. How do you really optimize video delivery, especially large quantities of video, low latency, high bandwidth on top of wireless infrastructure? That wasn't great. So that's really the problem we started with. In 2008, the Pittsburgh Penguins gave us a chance to go to pilot with this. So we'd been building this for, I'd say 3 or 4 years, again, very much in research style. And the Penguins were building out a new arena. So typically when there's a new arena, there's an opportunity, as you all know, living, right here where you have so many opportunities to go insert your technology, we had an opportunity to go to pilot. So Penguins said, let's give you a shot. You're a local university. You've built something neat. It might be great for fans. Let's see what happens. So this is what we really tried to provide. So we got access to all these different camera angles. So the two under the video board, those are called ISO cams. They follow star players. In case of the Penguins, it happened to be Crosby and Malkin. So you have two cameras that follow Crosby and Malkin. You see the two goalie cams, those two goalie cams. You see the two there, those are the bench cams, the home bench cam and the rival bench cam. And let me tell you, when your team is winning, those are spectacular cameras to watch, right? And because you're always seeing your team being happy while the other one's not. The two ledge cameras up there, that's your broadcast cameras, what you get at home. just for comparison. So that's really where the cameras are placed for the ones that you see at home, and where they can zoom in and they can watch all of the action. Right? So we got access to all of these different camera angles, and we would stream them to fans' smartphones. At a time when Wi-Fi penetration on smartphones wasn't even a great deal, and you didn't have a terrific quality network. So this is what we did. The first
streaming it to them over the phone network, or was it Wi-Fi?
It was a Wi-Fi network inside the venue, okay. But it wasn't, like I said, high-density Wi-Fi or provision for the kind of bandwidth that you wanted. Not everyone was necessarily using it. So first game we went live. As a pilot, we had 7 users. I was over the moon. I thought 7 people who I do not know, who are not my students, not my family, haven't paid them off. They're using this. We must be onto something really, really cool. End of the season, we had about 55% of that pilot audience watching about 30 hours of video. This was for a Stanley Cup playoff championship game. Right? Detroit Red Wings, Pittsburgh Penguins, 3 different camera angles. You see 3 different smartphones there. Right? At the time, you see BlackBerry, Android, as well as iOS at the time. And that was the day we decided we have a company on our hands. So this was May 2009. And I thought, okay, if we're seeing that kind of usage on this kind of network, and fans are actually using this, we have a company on our hands here. So we spun that off in 2009. And then fast forward 5 years later, we support about 85 professional teams and venues throughout the world, 26 out of 32 NFL clubs, more than half the NBA clubs. We also support the Australian National Rugby League with all their league app as well as all of their team apps. So we provide this experience now around the world, and we really started from, I'm too short to see. And what can we do better with that problem, right? So let me play you a little video that shows you some of that experience from when we started. So I won't play the rest of that video, but you get the point. And this was a video from 2008, 2009, just for comparison. So you see, even at that time, we had started to do this. And again, over an indoor wireless network. So what do we do overall? We do things like in-stadium video, different camera angles, instant replays. The word that's interesting there is automated. Trying to avoid having any human in the loop when you're generating replays, because that's not how it's traditionally done. What kind of algorithms do you use to actually make that possible? Interactive amenity maps really is a fancy term for burger finder, right? So to be able to do location-based services inside the venue, so you can say, where's the closest pizza, where's the closest burger, do things like that inside a venue, right? And again, these are all the things that we hear sports fans, our users, actually asking for, and that's why they exist inside what we built. For teams and stadiums, the reason they work with us is it's not just a platform for engaging fans and building loyalty to their brand, but it actually provides an in-venue enhanced experience. And you've probably read this with in almost every single league. There's always this anxiety that fans won't come to the stadiums because the experience at home is so phenomenal. How do you get people to show up? Right? And this gives people a reason, especially if they can see something from a completely different perspective other than what you can enjoy at home. Right? So again, it's the enhanced in-venue experience, and obviously there's other things like sponsorship and revenue generation that we also help teams with. These numbers are sort of old, but we have, I'd say, somewhere in the range of 14, 15 million downloads over this last year, and like I said, about 85 or so, and we're adding as we speak. Just a sense of our growth. That was that first pilot that we did for the Penguins. And as you can see, we've kept adding more and more teams as we've gone along. So this is also, I think, a testament not to necessarily to what we build, but it's a testament to also how the penetration of wireless and the acceptability of wireless on platforms, inside venues, inside everywhere has really taken off. And the fact that people have these devices in their hands now, and how do you leverage that to deliver unique experiences to them wherever they are? right? And to be able to bridge that gap between home, your home seat, your home couch, and your stadium seat and bring them together, right? Which is really what we're trying for. So just, again, in the interest of, who you are also as an organization, and, I've heard consistently from everybody, you're trying to infuse technology and entrepreneurship. With that in mind, I'm going to touch on what were business goals as well for us, because I think it's important to realize how we set about developing what we did based on the business goals. So when we first started as a company, this is all we did. All we did was in-stadium stuff. Okay, so do the math on the market, right? If you have a hockey game or a basketball game, you have 20,000 people sitting there. How many people are watching at home? Probably about 8 million. Right? So if I'm fixated on the 20,000 market alone, I'm not going to survive very much as a company. I need to be able to offer something unique inside the venue while also finding a way to touch the 8 million outside the venue. So really, even though we started with that, within a year we figured out that that should not be our business model. And it was really important for us to sit down and say the market size is here, we can't just focus on here. This can be our competitive differentiator, but we really need to focus on this. With that in mind, anything we do for a team involves all this today. So if you go look at any one of your favorite team apps on the NFL side, you'll see they have all this stuff with us, right? Of which this becomes a unique differentiator that only we do. Right, so that becomes an interesting thing that only we do. We deliver, video, high bandwidth things at very, in a very compressed format in ways that are really, really interesting and clever on networks that were not built for it. And while we do that, and that really, kind of goes back to our distributed systems backgrounds, we offer all that because we don't want to ignore the 8 million outside the venue. Okay, so really something to keep in mind how your business model informs how you change your technology. This is all eye candy. I'll just show you the eye candy quickly. And if anyone's interested, I can also show you the kinds of trials we did for the Super Bowl last year, if anyone's interested in seeing what happened at MetLife Stadium last year. So this is what an NFL team app looks like. So this is the Atlanta Falcons. So you'll see inside the venue, we carry the Red Zone channel. For those of you who like watching the Red Zone channel for an NFL club, we carry that. We carry different camera angles. My favorite one happens to be the sky cam or the overhead cable cam. If you've watched Monday Night Football, there's a camera that just drops down behind the huddle. And that camera angle is really spectacular, especially when you're watching it inside the game and you're seeing every single down from that camera angle. So it's, again, imagine seeing every replay from a game from the camera angle. Here's another one on the hockey side. And again, you can see the different camera angles, behind the net, Crosby cam, Malkin cam. You can rifle through all these different camera angles and see different vantage points of the game, and you're able to do that with very low latency and scale, which is really good.
Player cameras automatically track them, or is it...
Great question. So James's question was, are those manually operated cameras or they're automatically tracked? Today, they're manually operated cameras. So if you look at any stadium, anything that is set up there, from a technology standpoint, it's such a huge potential for all the things that we want to try and do. Right? And I think that's really the way to view it. For me, it was really eye-opening the first time we went into stadiums and the fan experience and started to think, anything we do is going to affect and improve the fans' experience. We can actually measure it game by game. It's up to us to go try things. So what James suggested just now, if you could actually automate the tracking of these cameras such that it knows it can fix up on a player and keep tracking that player, even if that player's on the bench, again, things like that may have dramatic improvements to the fan experience and dramatic improvements to the cost structure of the team where they don't have to staff somebody out for that camera. Right, so again, the potential here to do interesting things inside venues is really, really, really huge. Here's another one on the NBA side. And again, you can see interesting data visualization. So for example, we do heat maps of where all the shots are. We do heat maps and we show, actually on a visual grid, the shots are and what the score looks like. We graph that in real time. And interestingly, we can do additional things. So for example, this is the view to the 8 million at home, but potentially the view inside the venue could be, you go click on this little dot, it actually pops up the replay of that shot as the basket side. Right? You click on that dot and you click on it again, the replay as the sideline side. So now imagine taking your data, visualizing it, and tying video assets and other things to it in a way that really makes your experience richer.
Why did you do it outside?
Good question. No, great question. Broadcast rights. All the rights to game footage have already been sold outside the venue. So when I first started the company, one of the education for me was where all these rights have already been sold. So if you look at things like, football, the rights to Red Zone have already been sold outside the venue. Inside the venue, that didn't exist when we started. And the reason, primarily, if I think back on it, I think fundamentally, nobody other than the team was using that footage inside, and even then to throw it up on the video board. So nobody was looking at how can you take technology and use it inside in a way that you can provide a better experience in everyone's hands. So once we decided we would start doing it, it caught on. But those rights were actually not carved out by anybody.
Now you can pull an aerial and have people install little phones in the stands during the game that will broadcast the...
No, absolutely. And then you think of other extensions of this, right? And these are the things that you work on from, with your research hat on, which is, could you take every single person who has this device and they're doing user-generated replays? Because the guy next to the glass in a hockey rink, when the player comes and slams up next to it, he has a vantage point nobody else has. And there's no camera there near there. And if you could actually capture that and they were able to add to the replay set that you have inside the venue, that becomes special.
Is that not subject to broadcast?
It would be subject to broadcast restrictions as long as it's game footage, but you can provide it inside the venue as yet another additional user-generated camera angle.
Another question, is the stats feed live?
Yes, yes. So the stats feed is the stats feed that you get from leagues, teams. It's live. You may get tops a second, 2-second delay on it because somebody is still typing it in at some point of time. But yes, you're going to be able to see that live. So what's interesting is you have the combination of all these stats that are coming in. So if I take a look at this visualization for basketball, as people are making shots at the basket, all these dots are popping up on the visualizations that we make. While these dots are popping up, our system is also cutting up replays. So every time a dot pops up, we have a replay corresponding to it, and now you click on the dot and the replay can pop up for it. So now you're really starting to tie visualizations with new assets.
Can you save the videos for later viewing?
Depends on the team. So a good question again. Some teams decide that they will archive the entire season's footage because you may want to go back and look at that spectacular touchdown and it looks just like this one, or the trick play that looks like just like this one. So some teams do it, some teams will decide they want to prune the whole thing. But it's not a technology limitation. It's a question of storage at that point in time. Nothing more than that. Here's one for soccer. This is for the Revolution. So you can see, again, all these goals and all these shots on goal. And again, you go click on that G dot. You could actually say, here's the replay from the sidelines, from the goalie cam, from all these different vantage points. Right? And again, you've been able to put all this stuff together. Right? Now, you start thinking about this and you say, OK, we've done this on one kind of device. So imagine that if you go to a venue, we're now sitting on a whole bunch of replays that we have generated. And we'll talk about how we go through the process of generating them. Right? So say I think for this last Super Bowl, we generated about 383 replay clips. Right? So altogether, 383 replay clips from 2 different camera angles was the sky cam as well as the 50-yard line cam. And again, like I said, I can show you what that looks like. So we generated these replay clips. And what's interesting is now they're available to be consumed by any display device because it's just a video clip, right? And as long as some of the device can support it, it suddenly becomes possible and available, which is what we decided to do with Google Glass as we tried it with different teams. So this is the Golden State Warriors. And what we ended up doing was we built this out on a glass device for them where essentially this is what the fan is seeing. He can see the entire court, and every single time a player scores, he sees a little push notification here. Right? So Stephen Curry, in this case, the Warriors player, when he scores, you see a little push notification there while you're looking at the court. Now, why is this great? In some sense, I might end up hurting the other product that I've actually put out, which is the mobile device, because now a fan doesn't even need to look down. Right? Everything is presented to you organically as you're looking at stuff. But you've really now enhanced the experience because I, as a fan, don't have to go around looking, saying, which player just scored now? Let me go look for it here. It's displayed to me. Even better, think about all these replays that we generated. You tap the side of this glass device, it shows you the replay, that same Stephen Curry replay as the basket side. Right? You tap it once more, you see it as somebody on the sidelines, the coaching staff side. Right? So now you take this entire thing and you're overlaying it on top of an experience that you're looking at. Because all you do is now you repurpose the infrastructure and now you figure out how to encode it to suit different kinds of display devices. And then each of these enhances the experience differently. Going one step further,
we're looking at how you take these. And again, if you look at this, there's a core range of products, and there's all the research opportunities as you insert things, right? One of the research opportunities here is how do we do computer vision as you're looking at everything that you see out there, on the court, on anything else. The guy lines up for a free throw shot. Can you put a gigantic arrow there that says 0 out of 3 times he's made it so far? He's not going to make it this time either, right? Field goal kicker lines up. Can you do the same thing? Can you say 48% of the time he's going to make this 38-yarder? Right? Can you do other things to enhance it even further, knowing that you have real-time stats access? And how can you take that, do the real-time processing of the footage that you're seeing, and overlay the two together? Yes?
Okay, I'm going to be a contrarian.
Sure, of course.
You talk about enhancing the experience, but all you're doing is taking people out of the in-stadium experience, bringing them to virtual world images.
Sure, no, you're right, absolutely right. And even when we started this, we argued with ourselves for, what are we trying to do here? Are we enhancing the in-stadium experience? Is technology getting in the way of this, or is technology really amplifying it? And every single thing we put out there, we always argue with ourselves for, are we helping or hurting? So even when we did the mobile device, right, you'll see tons of arguments out there for teams that say, don't even give the fan an opportunity to look at anything on their mobile device when you're inside the venue. If they show up in the venue, they should only be looking at the video board and the court. Makes a lot of sense. You've paid hundreds of dollars to enter. Those are the two things you should look at. But you go to every stadium, everyone's fidgeting with their device. People are going to, you can't see a picture of the Super Bowl without seeing you doing something on their device. People are sharing their experience. How can you make sure you're doing your best to amplify it? And again, this is where I think the research part also lies, is what are the things that we do that would get in the way, and what are the things that we can do that would really help do a better job and really end up amplifying it. There are certain features. You saw that whole grid of features. There are certain things we threw out. We've tried them. We know they don't work. We don't even try them anymore. So I think that's the process of figuring out. You're right. Technology can get in the way, but how do you figure out which ones work for you, actually? Yes?
Is there a generational issue of millennials versus the...
Absolutely. We see that all the time, right? Oh, of course. I'm sorry. The question was, is there a generational issue, millennials versus others? And you're absolutely right. If I go team by team, depending on the region, the demographic of the fan, I'm going to see different usage data. It's a given. I'm going to decide which features are a better shot for me to deploy for them versus not. It's a given. So this is where, right, we have to adapt based on analytics. Our analytics almost have to inform our feature selection for what we put out there. And that could be the feature selection as simple as pick this camera angle versus this, because the majority of fans in the stadium are looking at it this way, so they'd care about this angle. It could be as simple as your vantage point versus the age group, the average age of the fan in the stadium is this. Therefore, this feature is likely to have more utility than this one. We do that all the time, and we have to. And I think our analytics really inform us what we should be doing there. Okay. There was an earlier question about, why does this have to stay contained to the building? It's a broadcast rights issue. This is the business model side of it, right? Technology doesn't hurt you here at all. You can do anything you want. So in fact, for certain teams where we have rights and leagues where we have rights, we can send anything out wherever you want. It's never in our way. It's not a technology decision. This is where you get creative because you know your business constraints. And ultimately, at the end of the day, for any company, it's your technology meets your business constraints that give you the ideal platform that you have that wins for you. Right? So game footage can't leave the building. If I looked at this company when I started, this is where I started. So remember, this is where we started to do all of our research. If I'm looking at the percentage of Wi-Fi phones, that at that point in time, that was not a very pretty future here. That was a pretty bleak future. I would say, honestly, when I was on the road trying to convince teams in this range, in that 2008, 2009, 2010, saying, please try our stuff. It really works. I swear to you, it works. The pushback we'd always get is, well, we don't have Wi-Fi. Why should we put Wi-Fi when there aren't enough phones out there with Wi-Fi? Because, again, you look at the market size. If you know that only, 20% of people who walk into your building have Wi-Fi on their smartphones, and that too, they have to have the latest smartphones, mind you. And then of that 20%, maybe 1 to 2% will engage. It's diminishing returns here. Why the heck would you use us? right? So again, when I looked at this, this was really not a very great market picture I was looking at. This was destined to be a research project that was great. I could put out a bunch of papers on it. We call it a day. We move on to another thing. And that's really what we were looking at. What changed that was Android. Android showing up on the market, and suddenly we started to see this whole surge of people trying things on Wi-Fi. What changed was, today if you look at it, there isn't a carrier out there. You name any single carrier, any telecom carrier, who puts their name on a phone that doesn't have Wi-Fi on it. Just doesn't exist, right? So this was another market force that really helped us. If that hadn't been the case, then I think we'd be talking about a very different story. I'd be talking to you about a research project that was a great experience, and I'm telling you what happened, not a product that actually works. Right now, you can assume that every fan who walks in with a phone has Wi-Fi on it. So you've got market. It's a question of what you give that market to make sure that they get on the system. That's a different problem from I don't even have a market, right? So something to keep in mind. Content rights. For some kinds of content, this goes back to the broadcast rights. For some kinds of contents, you end up needing a license for that content, right? And again, you look at the education process for me on the business side that involved me making technology decisions, involved me understanding for every team, every league, who has license rights to what, when those license rights expire, what is inside the stadium, outside the stadium, what's the pattern overseas versus here, how that changes from league to league. It wasn't even a technology decision. And then shaping our technology to work with those constraints so we could just say, with a flip of a switch, we can go from this league to this league if they change their rights landscape. Right? So again, this is really important for us knowing what that landscape looked like. This is a pretty big deal. The fact that on game day, I mean, game day lasts all of 3 or 4 hours. It's a fairly well-known statistic that if you take game day and you empty all the fans out of the stadium, take all the fans and you empty them out of the stadium, you'd still be left with at least 1,000, 2,000 people who are just staffing the stadium, right? That's just to make the stadium run, to have the lights working, to have the water cooler working. And it could be 3,000 people for a high-profile event. So you take all the fans out of the picture, right? So if you look at that, they don't have time and attention to give you on game day when you say, I need a replay. They just don't. So you have to build a system that's inferring things about the status of the game and that's generating replays on its own. Okay? And we'll talk through how it does that. When we first started the company, one of the things that I would do is I had staff members go out to every game and they would do start, stop, start, stop, start, stop for every single replay. Imagine doing that for 6 different camera angles and trying to make sure that for a very fast-paced game like hockey, that you catch every replay. There were times and there were games where we missed 30% of replays just because the game moved too fast for us. There were times when, by the time the operator, the staff member that I had, the operator had done one thing, the game had progressed to a completely different point where that one didn't even matter anymore. What we had done was obsolete. So we really needed a different way so that we could hinge off of what we were receiving to be smarter. So what we do today is we haven't in the last couple years sent a single staff member to any game, even though now we've supported thousands of games. We've just stopped doing that. What we do instead is we have an algorithm that's using the data feeds, using the context, the timestamp, the clock, all the things that you do in classical distributed systems. You're using all that information to infer the length of a play, no matter what the sport is. So really you are doing some amount of data mining here to infer the length of the play, and doesn't matter how many camera angles you throw it. It's an algorithm. You just throw more cycles at it. It slices, spits. And I haven't sent a staff member to any game. Yes?
Yeah, as a research project, I can see why you choose to work with a specific team. But at this point, why aren't you sort of chasing the people that sit on the broadcast rights rather than the different teams? It's a more scalable model.
Great business question. I am. I mean, so, the reason I'm here as well is, every couple weeks, I'm in New York for some reason or the other, and primarily because all the leagues we deal with, all the people who have the rights, that whole ecosystem that's built around sports and this country, this is the universe here, right? And understanding who has what, when it expires, when you can go in, when you can negotiate that out, all that plays into that. You're absolutely right. The technology doesn't prevent me. It's the rights that prevent me. So that's what I need to be cognizant of. Who do I partner up with that I can amplify myself without having to spend a lot? You're absolutely right there. And it's also the thing I lose sleep over to. So, by the way. So again, looking at this is where, all your computer science background comes in handy to go solve a practical problem of, if I have to send staff members, think about this, right? We are at 85 teams and hundreds of games a year. If I had to send a body to every game, and an average NBA season, you're talking 40 to 50 games every other day, I'd be broke. I couldn't even support one team. Our thing just does it, because again, this is the power of using things like data mining with a bunch of inputs that are coming into it, and also from looking at what the footage is and just slicing, spitting, with clock synchronization in the background, right? And again, we haven't had to do any of this work or any of this lift for certain leagues and teams that we haven't even worked with in the past, right? And so that's the important thing, that the system can actually train itself. Now, interestingly enough, there are going to be situations that still require a manual override. A very common one, just from your viewpoint, is a fight in hockey. It's very hard to predict when it's going to end. It could be all of 5 seconds. It could take all of 3 minutes, right? And it's a very hard thing to predict from what the length of that play is. So some things may still require a manual override, but they're in the noise compared to everything else. Again, the power of doing things like machine learning in this context.
So do you have a control room in your headquarters where
yes.
people are watching all?
Yep. So for every game day, so if I take an NFL Sunday, and we're supporting 26 out of 32 NFL clubs, we have monitors all over where we're just watching these replays spit. And we're not, ideally, we're not touching anything. We're just watching them populate, watching the algorithm working at scale across all of these. And think that in a stadium, we're probably generating 400 to 500 replays across all these stadiums, right? And so this thing is just spitting this out. And that replay number that I gave you, there's a multiplicative effect if I add more camera angles.
And your business charges the teams or the fans or both?
From day one, it's always been my principle not to charge the fan, right? It's something we've really, really, really stuck to. I started this as a fan myself, and I'm very, 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 bullish about making sure that we don't charge the fan more.
How about in-app advertising?
That's how the team monetizes it in different ways. Whether it's the team pays us, whether it's a combination of sponsorship, whether it's a combination of other kinds of activations and other things that are done, that's how the revenue model is. But it's never charging the fan at the end of the day. Right. So scalability, we'll talk about dynamic load and how we've used cloud and where it's helped, where it hasn't. And so we'll talk through those use cases as well. Scalable operations, we need to handle multiple facilities at the same time. And so basically, like I said, an NFL Sunday, you're handling dozens of stadiums and they're all going at the same time. How do you handle the level of that load and be able to cope with it? Okay. Latency, replays, it's unacceptable for a fan to get a replay 15 minutes. At 15 minutes, you saw the thing, you want the replay immediately. So you're really looking at aggressive, few seconds before you see that replay. And imagine now you're slicing that up across 6, 8, 10 camera angles, all of which are spinning out as fast as they come. And you're able to slice that in that fraction of a second and spit it out to fans. And that's really what we have to provide. It's a low latency on top of this wireless network. Okay? So let's see how we started. And this was, mind you, pre-cloud days. So when we first started, we built out all of our own infrastructure. We would buy servers. Then we would build software on top of servers. We did all the usual things that you do when you start a company out. You just buy boatloads of servers, and at least that's how you did it previously. And today, you just spin up a bunch of cloud instances, and you're done. We hired our own people to be able to babysit those servers, and that's really the model that we started with. So basically, my IT infrastructure was my company's problem. This is what it looked like, when we did 2009, early on. So you had our server backend. Part of it was in stadium, part of it was out of stadium. All the feeds went in, and that's what it looked like. Right? Then we drank the Kool-Aid, and once we drank the Kool-Aid, we started using Amazon Web Services. So really, that's what we started with. And what we did was, really this on-demand, resizable computational capacity. Now, let's talk a little bit about what we use it best for and why it's great for our model, right? So think of an average NFL in-season week. Monday, this is the workload, right, as a fan. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That spike is 300x of this. If your team is headed for playoffs, it could be 400x, right? Further into the season, that spike goes up. Okay, so by buying servers, I am provisioning them the whole week. I'm buying enough to handle 500x for 4 hours of game day. That's what I was paying through the nose for, right? And I was hiring people to really staff out for that when the rest of the week was just 1%. Now, of course, that changes for me now we're supporting a team every day. So clearly, every single day I have load, but if you look at it, our workload is ideally suited to what you would do on a cloud. Because what you really want is for 4 hours to be able to provision a heck of a lot. And once you provision that, it runs its thing, right? In addition, if you know the analytics, this goes back to how you consume your data, right? Just like we're using the data from the stats and the context and to put into that data mining algorithm to auto-generate replays. Again, if you use your data, you can predict the workload on game day. You can't always predict when a player is going to have a hat trick in hockey. You can't predict those kinds of things. There are certain things you can do, but you know what your population is. You know how many users you have because you know how many people downloaded it, how many people are using it. You know the importance of the game. A game 7 is different from a game 1. You can build workload profiles for all these things and pre-provision your servers in a way that's really smart and that brings your cost down. Yes?
So how important was it to create a model and predict versus just monitor and launch and so on?
From a practical standpoint, from an operational standpoint, not very much. From a cost standpoint, a heck of a lot. Because we, in a previous model, what we would do is we would aggressively over-provision. Because we were always thinking, what's the worst case possible load we would have? And even for that 4-hour window on game day morning, I mean, I remember emails from my staff on a Sunday morning at 8 a.m. They're firing up instances when kickoff is at 1 p.m. And we were provisioning for the worst possible thing we could see, which is every play has a touchdown kind of situation, which doesn't happen, but you prepare because you'd rather have that than have downtime, right? You aggressively over-provision, and that means I'm burning up money. From a cost standpoint, the bills that I was seeing for that were ridiculous. And now you look at other settings, right? Our teams play overseas all the time. I mean, if you look at an NFL season, they'll play a game over at Wembley Stadium. Now you're looking at how do you migrate these over in a different time zone and make sure that they're working. You're adding additional costs and bandwidth there.
Well, my question though is, so there are 2 ways, even in the cloud, right? There are 2 ways to do it. You can predict the load and launch services in advance. You can also monitor the load, and every time you go close to reaching capacity, you can add more servers.
Yep. Great question. So let me show you the graph for that, right? So this is, I think, a couple seasons ago. This is what a week looks like, right, in playoff hockey week, right? So you can see those spikes from every one of those. So you're right. Do you predict versus you react, right? So this is what it looked like when we had a hat trick from a player who just came back from an injury. Right? You could probably guess if you went back 2 seasons ago, you'll figure out which player that is, right? If you look at that, there's the auto-scaling, all the algorithms that are implemented in these infrastructures to be able to help you react to that, it is such a flash spike. That's outrageous that by the time you monitor and react to it, and by the time a fan goes to look for it, you're already too late. You're right in that we can't predict that that player is going to have a hat trick. But what you can say is, you know the context of the game where you know he came back from an injury, he's already 2 goals up, you know what the status is, you feed those parameters in, and as soon as he's on the ice, you can proactively start to provision for things. And that's what you can do with your modeling.
Okay, but that's not modeling, that's human input.
Some of it can be automated. Some of it can be automated. With enough data,
You know about the standard, you don't know about, well,
with enough data, I mean, we have now thousands of games and lots of data that we look at. We have models with enough fidelity that we can throw it at any other new game in hockey and it would still work. So this is the stuff that really becomes interesting to me from a research standpoint is how much fidelity can you build in that you require very little manual input, because the moment I have manual input, I need more people on my side.
okay.
No, go ahead, please. Finish your thought.
Do you know how well you are predicting it? Do you know if you actually over-provision?
We still over-provision by some. It's come down to the 10 to 20%, not as aggressively as we used to. We still overpay. I know we do. But
I guess the trade-off is over-pushing versus downtime.
yes, yep. And in fact, I think we had a paper at Usenix Lisa where we looked at, what's the cost of over-provisioning versus this? What fidelity does our model have? In a sport where we've been there for 5 years, we understand enough of it that we know what we're doing there. So again, some of this stuff If I go into a new sport, I'm starting from scratch, trying to understand what the intricacies of there, what the rules are, and trying to fit my model to it. Okay. So this is what the system started to look like. And again, we pulled everything out into the cloud. And then finally, you can see you're running everything through that. You're running your replays. You're running everything through that. The moment you start to take your video, especially replays, and try and host it outside on a cloud, your latency starts to suffer. So if you pull everything out into the cloud, which is what an intermediate version of our system looked like, the moment you do that, your replays, latencies can now start to go into minutes. So while that was one version, the final version that we ended up with was the just enough version, where we still use the public cloud for a bunch of stuff like all the stats and everything else. And then inside every single stadium where we operate, we have a set of servers almost forming a private cloud in there. And on that, we handle all of our replays and low latency things for inside the venue. And the combination of the two gives us low latency inside the venue for things like replays, and then adequate enough service for all the people outside who are watching other things. Because the low latency inside the venue, the example graph I showed you, when that player has the hat trick, fans immediately went there and they wanted to see that replay immediately. And I have to be able to turn that around very, very quickly. I can't do that if I'm shipping everything out and bringing it back. Okay?
So one box, how much do you need?
Typically about 3 to 4 servers. And these are standard issue, Dell, whatever servers, just maxed out in memory storage. But these are standard things where we're doing a lot of our transcoding, and that replay algorithm is running on those.
And do most stadiums have a machine room that you put them in?
Yes.
And it's standardized in a way that you don't have to do
So if you look at the MetLife Stadium here in their data center, 4 of our servers are in there. You got a question? Great question. It differs for replays versus live cameras. Because for live cameras, you're streaming. Because you're pumping a live, like Red Zone, you're pumping that out constantly. You may even use Wi-Fi multicast where you're trying to get that same stream out to all people at the same time with some amount of buffering. So for example, you could have a 30-second buffer built in so people can scrub back. On the replay side, it becomes progressive download because it's a 7-second clip. A play in football, you throw the ball and it's 10 seconds. It's not a whole lot. It's even shorter in basketball and hockey. So you're talking a few seconds, and that can be done through progressive download. And again, you can look at what your analytics are and decide which ones you want to go which route, because if you know there's a really popular play and everyone's going to go look at it, you can switch out to doing it in a different way. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we have to take care of that because you don't want people walking away with it and taking it outside, because that's a rights issue too. Yes, and that has to make sure that after the fan has viewed it, after the duration of the game, the moment the fan is done with whatever the last play is, whenever the last play is done, the previous ones get scrubbed. And so there is a way that we have to manage all of that, otherwise people will take it outside the building. All right, so this is, I think over this, these are numbers from probably January, February of this year. Gives you a sense for, I think we've served about 1.3 to 6 petabytes of content at this point in time, about 1 billion push notifications. It gives you a sense of, how many people had been using it. And this is as of, the footprint as of January or February of this year. We've talked a little bit about, of course, please.
Do you keep track of people who are using them?
Good point. Right now, all the data is anonymous aggregate. And the reason is, again, we're very stringent on the privacy policy. In fact, if you go look at any one of them, the data is anonymous and aggregate, and the data is used in multiple ways. The data is used to optimize the fan experience. For example, if we look at what fans do pre-game, in-game, post-game, that data can inform us on which features you bury inside versus which features you present to the fan as soon as they open up an application. So you can decide to elevate or diminish features. For example, pre-game, the things that fans care about most is reading the pre-game blogs because they want to get themselves in the mindset of that. They also want to get statistics about the last time these two teams met. So pre-game, they care about certain things. In-game, they care only about in-game stats and all that stuff. Post-game, they care about the post-game press conference. So what the content consumption patterns are. Based on that, you adapt your user interface. And you can actually do certain things like that in a much more efficient way. So that's how our analytics primarily get used. And it's anonymous aggregate. Yes?
Have you noticed that the season ticket holder, as time goes on during the season, their marginal use decreases because they not as exciting anymore?
Great question. So from a season ticket holder standpoint, how do you keep people coming back, right? I mean, is this a novelty thing and they use it the first time and after that it doesn't become interesting? I'd say it depends on the content. It depends on the experience. If it's something like Red Zone and you're a football fan, you're going to watch Red Zone no matter what. In fact, you don't get it inside the stadium any other way, so you're going to watch it. Because especially if your team is headed into the playoffs and it's a wild card, whatever else, you want to keep your eye on everything else that's happening. So that ends up being a must-have for a fan. Fans are always going to follow stats of their team, the team that's on the field, because teams have scoreboards where they show some stats, but not everything. Fantasy, that's a huge deal. Because everybody has their own setup for fantasy football or whatever else. And that, again, is not up on the video board. It's something you have to go look up somewhere. Now imagine if you had your entire list of fantasy players as any one of them, anywhere in the league scored, you got the replay of that immediately. You could make your decision for the next week. Those kinds of things really keep people coming back. And it's repeat usage week after week. And it only escalates as the season goes further, in fact. So again, it comes down to what your content is. And this is, again, going back to his question on the analytics. The analytics inform us where to make our bets on what we seek to improve versus what we retire. So we talked about the automation part. This is, in fact, a behind-the-scenes look at our replay dashboard. I know it's hard to see the letters, but this is for a Titans game, and it actually says Jay Harper, left end Tennessee, 23 for -3 yards. So in fact, it's looking at that caption of the play and has gone through and sliced up that footage automatically using that algorithm we talked about, and is making it available to fans so they can pull it within seconds. Right? And again, it's inferring a lot of other contextual information to be able to auto-generate that replay. Here's another version for basketball to show you that it's reproducible across multiple sports. Here again, it says Lopez layup shot, and it tells you 24 points there. So again, you look at that contextual information. Now here's the beauty. Once you've generated all this video data, you have metadata around it, which gives you the play description. So I can go in and say, give me every play where Harper lost 3 yards and he was anywhere within the 20-yard line range. And I can spit out every single play throughout his career. And now I can search for different attributes because I've used those attributes in my context for building my data anyway. So now this allows me additional ways, not just as a fan, but as players, as coaches, as other things, to be able to look at the data and ask interesting questions of it, which is also the next wave of what we're trying to do. Somebody asked me earlier, how do people decide how they want to actually go off and monetize this, right? So a lot of this is for teams, they understand where the usage spikes are. And if they know they have a giant usage spike there, right? So this is, you're looking at a team that had a game on Wednesday. If you have a large usage spike there, they know that that's the optimal time if they want to run advertisements, they want to run banner ads, they want to do all these other things because they're going to get the impressions that give them the revenue returns, right? So the analytics are used more to drive where the points of revenue also happen for a team. And again, anonymous aggregate, but it allows them to decide what the points of engagement are. Also drives revenue in a different way. So for example, for a team, it could decide to do additional things with sponsors around the city. So as an example, right, especially many of you have heard about things that Apple's doing with iBeacon, etc. So if you look at different ways of using this, so we have teams where they do tailgating packages inside a grocery store on Friday. The team has a game on Sunday. If you happen to take the team app and you go to that store, that grocery store on Friday, to pick up your tailgating packages, the beacons can check you in automatically, and you get a certain number of points. Your team wins on Sunday, you go back to the grocery store to again pick up a celebratory package, you get another 3,000 points. A 10,000 point threshold gets you pregame sideline passes. So again, the engagement is driven around the venue, not just inside the venue, and with sponsors. So again, this becomes a way that the team is looking at how they generate revenue using other embedded devices, which could be, you have beacons in stores, you're using location, you're using other stuff that is now actually serving to enhance this and enhance their revenue. Right? This is more to show you how things can be adapted. But in a nutshell, given that I'm coming up on time as well, On the cost effectiveness and time to market, we use cloud computing. So for example, say we have 26 NFL clubs that work with us. The 27th one comes and signs up with me right now as we're speaking. It takes us very little time to spin up a version of it that we can work with them for. It probably takes us somewhere like 90 minutes to make sure they have a first version they can work with, which is really, really, really great for time to market. Quality of service, we have low latency edge servers inside the building for those very quick replays. We also have our own custom reliability mechanisms. Scale and maintenance, the automation that we have for replay generation, the automation we have for workload profiling. There's a ton of automation behind it and a number of algorithms that we have that really allow us to tailor it so I don't have to add more people where the software can be smarter and the system can be smarter. And then finally, the ability of this platform to help the teams generate revenue. At the end of the day, while this is great in a fan's hands, at the end of the day, somebody has to pay for it. And the business model around making sure that the team has a way to generate revenue and how this generates engagement for them, that's really where, for them, we also have to come full circle. So if you look at it, there's a bunch of business goals in there, and then there's a bunch of technologies that we use to drive those business goals. And at the end of the day, that's what a company is. It's not one or the other alone. It's both of them driving each other. That's really what we ended up building. So where's the innovation for us? We sit on gobs and gobs of data on the quality of wireless inside a number of venues in the United States, on what it takes to stream over them, on so much failure diagnosis. So part of my background as a researcher is doing dependable distributed systems. So for me, this is like the gold mine of all the data for every failure that you could ever see. And it's your own data, so you understand it really well. You're able to actually annotate it. Right? So that's the kind of thing that our PhD students work on. How do you build failure diagnosis algorithms? How do you build better cloud provisioning algorithms? How do you do all that with the data that we sit on? And we have a really unique, interesting workload. It was the first Wi-Fi system to enable indoor at scale. Now I'm talking tens of thousands of people wanting to pull replays up simultaneously when a guy has a hat trick. Right? At that scale, being able to do is the first of its kind that did it. Plus, we have this hybrid public plus private with different latencies. We also have analytics and we have automation for that. And particularly on the data automation side, the things that we do to make sure we don't have to staff out every game and we're still able to produce things, replays within seconds when it really counts for the fan. I mean, that really has changed the game for us. Okay, so to recap, we started with I'm too short to see. We built a business model around it. We expanded the business model as we understood the market forces. We understood where platforms and technologies were headed. We understood the rights landscape. That changed how we leverage cloud, how we leverage big data, and that's really, at the end of the day, the company that we ended up building. So the lessons for us is to identify the pain points. We piloted aggressively. I mean, this was the thing for us, is that pilot season with the Penguins, I worked every single game that year, every single game. And it was important for me to know and understand how people were using our system and to measure every single game. That was a long season because they went all the way to the championship. I worked every single game to understand that. Fail fast, there are so many things. We've changed our business model, we've changed our technology, we've changed our algorithms. Every single time, what our users do has made our system better. We really, really measure that. Exploit our data. We use our data to kill features. We use our data to make certain features better. We use our data to make certain features discoverable. We use our data to hide other features. Because at the end of the day, the data is what informs us and makes our product better. Automate as much as we can. Partner, partner, partner. He asked me a question earlier about, don't you think you should go after a different market now that you can take this outside the venue potentially? The right ecosystem is what's going to make us a long-term viable large company. Because taking what we do and really taking it out everywhere is what changes us. And that's really the crux of where we are right now. I'll leave you with my favorite last picture. That was the year that we went to pilot. That was my 2-year-old. At the time, he's 7 now. He worked every single game with me. I would carry him back after triple overtime. The Penguins went into triple overtime quite often that season. I would carry him back in my arms, sleeping as a little kid at 11 o'clock, going back after Penguins triple overtime. That was the group of graduate, undergraduate students, only some of them in there, who started this. Some of them are missing from the picture because they were fans of the other team, not the Penguins, and they refused to be in the picture. Which is completely justifiable, by the way. So, this is my goosebumpy picture. I always finish with that because it reminds me of the fact that my kid grew up with this, And he's as much, he worked every single game that I did, and to bring it this far. Okay, and with that, I'll stop. I think I'm up at 1:30 now. Thank you.
Well, I'm kind of curious, where do you see user-contributed content as the future? In fact, before I saw the talk, I had always thought it was people using their phones and you kind of automatically blending that together.
And that's really the next way.
On that camera going, hey, we vote that the camera follows this guy. And,
right.
If that happens, it'll always be Crosby because he's good. But when he's off the ice, it's following whoever they voted on and gets them more engaged.
Absolutely. So there's lots of user-generated opportunities there. So for example, which is the best camera angle that fans engage in, and you elevate that. There's user input, but to actually bring user-generated content to life, which is, think of every fan in their seat with their camera, on their cell phone being a camera source. And then let everybody vote on who has the best replays that night. Right? So again, there are opportunities. So on the research side, in fact, we have a new research project at CMU that's leveraging this to do exactly how do you crowdsource all of the cell phones that are inside a venue to be able to stitch that image of what's happening and to let fans say, this play happened, it's these 5 phones that would have grabbed it the best way, no matter what.
And does any of your content end up on the big shared public displays?
It can. It can end up on the video board if we so choose. It's, again, working with the team to try and do that.
At the baseball game and the camera's going around, people are dancing or whatever, and it's some small subset. So you imagine that the fans have
absolutely, and absolutely,
and contribution.
Absolutely, and if the fans have a say in that, and other fans vote it up or down, and you say this is the most popular replay generated by Scott tonight, and so you put Scott's replay up there, right? So you can certainly start doing things like that. So again, stepping back a little bit on the research side, we're now saying we get all this content from the team. What if the users were collaboratively creating this? How do you change our infrastructure and how do you make it smarter to produce that collaborative crowdsourced effect of content generation and stitching that content together seamlessly? So that's really, we have a new research project called Hyrax that it does exactly that. Yes?
What was the data point that was most unexpectedly valuable? You realized it was actually.
Okay. There were 2. One, and it's not a data point so much as a lesson, it's the rights landscape. It really shocked me just understanding the rights landscape and understanding what we're dealing with. The second data point was really figuring out a way to measure the quality of the wireless network that you have inside the building and understanding that it doesn't matter how well it has been provisioned by the smartest people on earth. You put 30,000 bodies in a stadium, it's all shot to hell. And measuring it and working around those 30,000 bodies to still get you your 7-second replay, that kills us every time. And understanding how to do that really well and reproducibly, that to me was the eye-opener.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, oh yeah.
Let me stop this.
Oh, let me make sure that I have this set up.